And it turns out that this guy, Jonathan Ross, who should come as no surprise, is a war veteran. He also has worked in the Department of Homeland Security for many years, did a lot of clandestine operations over the years. So there probably is a sense of invincibility that this man feels. And if you just watch how the whole thing went down, it's just pretty obvious whether you, again, support cops or not, and whether or not you think that this woman was in the wrong or that she has he, she, her pronouns. Here's what I could tell you point blank, period. The idea that you think that shooting to kill in that situation was warranted, and let's take it a step further. Let's say she was trying to hit him with the car. Do you know how much space you need in order to accelerate to a point in which that man's life would be in danger or even in danger of getting really hurt? And when you consider where he was standing, again, you can only accelerate a few miles an hour in a standstill spot. But people want to make it out like, oh, she was going to run him over and kill him. Yes, this woman with a dog in the car and a 6-year-old child was going to do that. I mean, at some point, there just is no excuse. I don't care what side of the political aisle you're playing on. You're not winning friends. You're only making enemies. And if this is strictly for political points, shame on every last one of you. And I'm pro Second Amendment. And I am pro law and order where it's warranted. But it's the same thing with immigration. It's the same thing with ICE. It's the same issue I keep telling everybody, and it doesn't seem to take as so I have to keep repeating it. We live in a country today that is going down by the head because multinational corporations have completely taken it over. They're driving us into a complete debt spiral. We can't afford anything because they pay nothing into the system. And as soon as that is a realization, they just move it into another country. Look at what George Soros did to the United Kingdom. They're doing it here, and they'll do it everywhere. Why? Because oligarchs run the world, and oligarchs should not exist. And by that measure, when you have an open border policy, as we had in the last administration, why is that? Because it's hand in glove. You have, on the one hand, those with the multinational corporations that would pay slave wage if they could get away with it. And frankly, that's really what it is. It's slave wage. And on the other hand, you have desperate people who are willing to come into this country for pennies on the dollar because the living conditions in which they're in is probably equivalent to the prison system you see in places like El Salvador. So the solutions are pretty simple. Or actually, there's one solution. And we've been repeating it constantly. And that, of course, is revolution. The R word. That's it. There is no other way. And as much as I don't want it to be that way, you have to come to the realization that the people that are pulling the levers of power today, the Stephen Millers of the world, the Marco Rubios of the world, the Donald Trumps of the world, you think they're going to give it up? No, they're not. And so while we get distracted by this civilian who was murdered by a cowboy, who now is on the run, apparently he's in hiding, and they're going to protect him, we're still distracted from the bigger issues here. And we're going to get to that. With that being said, if anybody commented on this event that I thought really honed in on the problems that exist and what needs to be done to a degree, Jesse the Body Ventura, who has been a guest on the Revolutionary Change podcast a time or two before, and hopefully we'll get him back on the channel soon enough. He really did a great job. Here he is.
Did it make you feel better to have that conversation, or what would you say?
No, I'm just saying, as a graduate of Roosevelt High School and as the former governor of Minnesota, I'm so proud of Roosevelt High School and how they stood up for what is supposed to be America and freedom. And freedom is not arresting people without warrants. We have a system here. It's called a Constitution. And we have a party, the Republicans, who don't seem to want to abide by the Constitution. January 6th is a prime example of that. And now they're all free and they're in charge. You know what? Maybe it's time for Jesse. I only did one term. I'm owed a second.
Hey, you know, I thought that it might make sense at this point, considering everything that we have going on, that perhaps Jesse might even be more suited at this stage to run for president. But I also understand at his advanced age and considering all the miles on his body, that that's probably not something that's in the cards, even though I think having him on the national stage would actually be perfect timing right now. But with Tim Walz officially stepping down and not seeking another term as governor, the fact that he is even toying with the idea of running for governor of Minnesota again, then I say we have to set up a draft Jesse for governor of Minnesota. That's the problem. But in the state of Minnesota, where he has been a mayor and a governor and is quite revered amongst his people, including his push, who he played a substantial outsized role even in the legalization of cannabis. I would say right now that this is as good a time as any to make a move. It would certainly create a lot of headlines, and he would have a lot of cannon fodder, not just to go after Trump, but to just have this support network that would clearly rise up behind him. And I do think that if anybody understands how to use the media to the fullest extent of their advantage, it's definitely Jesse. And I mean, I'm supporting him already. You just say when. Just say when. You and Tyrell, just let us know. And you know you're always welcome to come on our channel, promote whatever you like. And in this case, if you are planning to run for governor again, hey, you would be owed a second term. And I think he could win. I do, especially right now.
Mr. Ventura, can you tell us, remind us, you went to school here?
I went to school here. I'm a 1969 graduate of Minneapolis Roosevelt. I'm proud of them for what they did. They made me proud as an alumni. Go Teddies.
What are your thoughts? I know we're jumping in, probably doubling up on
That's
some
right.
of his questions, but what are some of your thoughts about what unfolded yesterday, and then after that, what you saw?
Well, I've told you already. We're a country of the Constitution. We have leadership now that has destroyed the Constitution. They don't follow it. They could care less about it. Am I right or wrong? I took an oath to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I view after January 6th, the Republican Party as a domestic enemy to our Constitution. I can't get any bolder than that, can I?
The problem with that statement is just painting a broad brush that it's the GOP is the problem. No, the whole system is the problem. And there is a distinction in terms of the split that's happening right now in conservative America, as well as what's happening in liberal America. So that part of the broad brush, I don't agree with. You have to call a spade a spade. I mean, we just had Clint Russell on the channel, and he agrees with us in terms of what went down. And so do a lot of other people. This capitulation to law enforcement, to the military industrial complex, again, it's all about what suits, I guess, who's paying. And yes, Jesse does support Palestine. So he's definitely on the right track on most issues. Doesn't mean he's perfect, but how could you not love the guy? I know I do.
And you obviously saw the video that the student shot outside here, and that obviously elicited a lot of emotions for you. Just watching
What do you mean
that,
the student shot?
there were some
outside?
students that shot the video of the chaos here yesterday. It was
No, I
nice.
didn't even
Oh,
see
you didn't
it.
see it? Okay, I thought
I
you
didn't
did.
see it.
Okay, okay.
The only thing I've seen is the murder.
So talk about, you were a student here. When did you graduate?
1969.
Have you been back here? Talk about that. Is this like first time back?
No. Came back to homecoming 2 years ago. No. I'm a proud graduate. I held 3 school records in swimming, 2 District 17 records. Our football team was undefeated. We won. Back then there were no playoffs. We played St. Paul Central for the Twin City Championship and defeated them, I think it was 21-6. And we did that at the old brick house, if you remember that, the old University of Minnesota. That's where they used to play the Twin City Championship game. There weren't playoffs then.
Dave Winfield was on that Central team, wasn't he?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. We beat Dave Winfield and Central.
Just to be abundantly clear about what you're doing, what you wanted to do at the school here today.
I just came here today to show my support as a graduate of Roosevelt and tell them how proud I was of what they did of keeping ICE off of this campus. This is a place of learning, and you learn things like the Constitution. You learn about warrants. You learn about things of that nature. And what we're getting right now is violating all that, what kids are being taught. You want to know something? I'll give you a quote. We're a third world country now. You want to know why? I'm an expert. I've been to them. I spent 17 months in Southeast Asia while the draft dodger was playing golf, right? You know how I know we're a third world country? Because in third world countries, they have the military doing their police work in the cities when you walk around. I was in the Philippines the day Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law and went under dictatorship. We went from nobody to a guy with a machine gun on every corner. That's what happens in a dictatorship. In comes the military. That's what's happening here. And people better wake up to it. You want to read something? Then read your history of Germany and start comparing the tactics of what happened in 1930s Germany to what's happening here.
He's absolutely correct that putting the National Guard in all of these cities and superseding the will of law enforcement at the local level is also causing a huge problem. And make no mistake, when it comes to ICE, it's a lot different than the sheriff's office, local police. There really is something to be said for this sort of rogue organization, if you will. And I've said, if you're not going to deal with the actual fundamental problem with illegal immigration in the United States, which again is used as a weapon against citizenry. We do not have labor laws in this country anymore, among many others that don't exist. But in terms of living in a country where we actually protect our workers, where we have a living wage, where we have universal health care, those things don't exist. And so what ends up happening? The second labor decides to get its sea legs and start fighting back, they open up the floodgates at the border, bring in people who will work for pennies on the dollar and screw labor and everyone at the same time. The powers that be do not fear the people. But Thomas Jefferson always pointed out, Ben Franklin always pointed out, that if you have a citizenry that fears the government, you have tyranny, which is what we have now. If you have a government or a ruling class that fears its citizens, then you have liberty. Right now, the powers that be do not fear us at all. Have you seen the reaction from some of the ICE agents in the recent videos that have been popping up over the past day or two? Have you not learned your lesson from what happened the other day? We're going to shoot you dead next. That's what's happening. And whenever I see anybody get on their hands and knees and blow an ICE agent, literally and figuratively, holy fucking shit. This is insane. It's one thing to support law enforcement. It's another thing entirely to think that they're ones worth celebrating. ICE is worth celebrating. They don't believe in anything. In fact, a lot of these guys are, weekend warrior paintball shooters. They're finally having a taste of what it's like to have real power and authority against people that can't fight back. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, it's like the IOF with the Palestinians in Gaza. It's the same thing. Hence why they're trained by the same people. So Jesse the Body Ventura knows a thing or two about what a third world country looks like, and I am inclined to agree with him.
Read history. You learn from history. And this is nothing new. This is all repeated. This is a game plan, it looks like to me, of what's going on here. How dare Minnesota, we'll take care of ourselves. We don't need federal troops coming in here without warrants.
Some people have said this undermines local law enforcement.
It undermines the entire Constitution. The military cannot be turned loose unless it's a national emergency. They're going to tell me this is a national emergency.
Message for Trump and or message for Governor Walz?
Who was that? You mean the draft-dodging coward? I don't call him by name. He's the draft-dodging coward who, when it was his time to serve his country, he did what all rich white boys did. I wasn't a rich white boy. I grew up in South Minneapolis. Most of me and all my friends are Vietnam veterans. We had to go. But the rich white boys never had to go, did they?
This leads to a very important part of this conversation, which is going to lead into our next story. You have to remember that more than anything else, and I will repeat this as long as I have a channel, this is a class war, nothing more. That's all it's ever been. That's all it ever will be. And when you have people like Stephen Miller, Marco Rubio, the Donald, among many others, that are itching for war, including the billionaire Zionist Jewish oligarchs, what do they all have in common? As Raise the Wolf said, fortunate son. Creedence Clearwater Revival understood it, and so do a lot of other people. This is a rich man's game that a poor man pays for. And now that things are starting to ratchet up pretty substantially when it comes to Iran, and we're going to get to Lil Ben Shapiro later in the show, their children will never fight in these wars. They will never be directly affected by the decisions that are made at the highest levels of government. Again, the big difference between the Democrats and Republicans is the Democrats are nicer. That's it. They do the same thing. Now it's just a total free-for-all. Like no one cares anymore. That's where we're at. So Jesse nailed it right on the head once again.
And he didn't have to go, did he? And yet he's going to tell me what courage is?
Are you supporting Governor Walz and Mayor Fry the way they've been outspoken towards?
Absolutely. Good for them and good for these people that stood up. They're teaching their students something, that we are a country, that we have to be a country of law and a country of the Constitution. They're all forgetting about the Constitution of the United States of America. We don't even have it anymore. After January 6th, are you kidding me? And then
we didn't have a constitution after the Patriot Act was passed following 9/11. And now that we all know 9/11 was an inside job, you understand why I can't abide by everything that Jesse says. So I just don't. He's right about a lot of stuff, but not that. Constitution was lost a long time ago.
they all get turned loose and now they're in charge. I gave up on this country when this guy got, I haven't even watched the news since last November. I stumbled onto this, and now look what you've done to me.
Well, thank you for stopping. I appreciate it.
Here I was leading a nice, quiet life, and now you've injected me back in here, and probably going to make me the governor of Minnesota again.
And you seem fired up and motivated.
Because somebody needs to clean up what the Democrats and Republicans constantly wreck. And you notice I lump them together. You know, I should use my old name for them, the Democrips and the Republicans, which my apologies to the Crips and Bloods for using their name in that way.
Now that is a man of the people. I have not read that book, but I have been advised to read that book. I don't think he wants to run, but I think he feels an obligation at this point. And when he's been on our channel before, that's one of the things that he really emphasized quite a bit. This need to serve his fellow man, woman, and child. And that's what he's always done. And one of the things that I had brought up, which I would bring up with him if and when he comes back on the channel, is that shortly after Hulk Hogan had passed away, there was a clip that we had played on the channel that showed Hogan admitting that he had sabotaged Jesse Ventura's efforts to unionize wrestlers in the WWF and now WWE. Point being is that if a line of work really needs unionization, I would think something like wrestling, professional wrestling, would be necessary. And Jesse was always ahead of the curve. And this attempt at unionization within the WWF was back in 1987. And the fact that Hogan had sabotaged it for Vinnie Mac says it all. And the fact that the body was on the side of the workers as he was then, as he is now. 40 years later, he has the track record and then some. So if he chooses to run for governor again, which we hope he will, I think he'll have an excellent chance, especially in this moment where the country is desperately seeking change. And when I think about the change that I want to see in this country, the change that I think we all desperately want to see and need to see,